All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Baddy Overwatch League. I'm AJ0. I'm here with Rakudo, and we've got a game that will hopefully live up to the one you just watched up here next. We've got a third place tie between Big Brain Ethoughts and Mad Bass. And this game was already going to matter a lot because these teams were tied in the standings beforehand. It now matters even more because Heron's Harem just covered some big ground from a place back in the last match with that huge upset win over social distancing from the cart. So I'm really excited to see what these teams have for us. And so are they. So excited that we need more time to figure it out, as I think we're going to have to get a remake here, actually.
They just want to quit. They don't want to play at all. They're just like, fucking, I'm done.
We will find out momentarily here as 30 is trying to figure out what is going on, as he seems as unaware as I do.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I mean, let's talk about last game, because I know it was you already watched it, you already saw it, it was cool, but holy shit, that was such an epic fight just to watch everything go. Like, I'm gonna be super excited for this game, but I just want to talk a little bit like that, because they fucking Heron's Harem pulled it off, and it was just like fucking tooth and nail, just scratching. It's like, it was amazing.
Last game was incredible. I feel like I've done the Baddy League for so long that after that first map where I was like, wow, Heron's Harem is playing really well here with Wacky on DPS, and they've kept this really close in a match where I was worried they would be tilted going into, and they still lost. And I was like, well, you know, this happens all the time. One team claws and fights and they almost grit their way and they just can't pull off the win against the better team. And it's like, this was their chance. And if they were going to win this match, this was the rounds they had to grab and win. And I've just seen so many times where the team that loses that match, that's it. Or that map, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, they lose the rest of the match. But then they flipped it around and played even better in the next two maps, won them both. Yeah, I'm so impressed by that team because I know their mental was not in the greatest of states after last week's match. Well, and to bounce back against social distancing from the cart, who had looked unstoppable this season.
And I'm pretty sure that might just boost their confidence pretty high, because that was dope. But now, we've got Big Brain Ethoughts and Mass Bass. I'm going to say Mass Bass. I know people always confuse like Bass Bass, but I think I saw a fish in that little picture, so I'm just going to say Bass. And it's going to be pretty exciting to watch. I mean, now that we probably have things going forward, and we're probably not going to have another fuck up, I assume we're going to have a clean, fun match. Everyone's going to put their hands way above the... that can be taken in two different ways, and I'm okay with both ways being entered into your brains.
Yeah, very happy to see what these teams are going to have in store for us this week. No Echo, thank the gods, one of our band heroes this week. As watching players try to fumble around with a new character last week was very hit and miss, depending on teams. And I think forcing these teams to maybe play what they know might be to their own benefit, at least for another week.
I'm happy and both healthy of saying fuck you, Echo. I don't like Echo. Fuck it. I think it's a stupid piece of shit, and I can't stand it. Ooh, it gets me angry.
Real quick, so some picks to keep our eye on. Dano still on the DPS here for Big Brain Ethoughts. Nothing too surprising out of Mad Bass. And here we go, Mad Bass on offense. Pushing on up. Ryan Zarya back together, just like the good old days. As we got a nice ice wall coming out of Dano that's going to split these tanks away from the rest of their team. Big Brain Ethoughts not losing. Oh, nope, I stand correct. The Big Brain Ethoughts does at the end there.
Yeah, Big Brain Ethos has a lot of pretty burliness going on, a lot of brawling, so they'll really want to play close, and they want to play as close as much as possible.
Yeah, and Dano and Brian probably going to be content to contest that. The May and the Junkrat going to just go for this clustered Ryan Zarya entry. And here we go, watch, we got Super T peeking over to the side, seeing if he can pick anyone out, but almost loses his life in the process. So there's a lot of low health Marseillers. Already our first Nano has come out onto the Reinhardt. But Dr. Eggman still not finding a whole lot here. Dano did go down. Oh, that was a fat shit! But the Ryan died. Oh, man. That shatter was huge on a Dr. Eggman, and they are going to mop up Big Brain Ethoughts. That is the first point going over to Mad Bass after a team kill.
Yeah, it's definitely a big shatter. It was really helpful. It was looking a little grim for them, but it was a good turnaround.
Yeah, they did a good job. I thought that Nano out of Mimi was maybe a little too preemptive, but that turned out not to be the case. It set Eggman up to just go balls to the wall in there. So we'll see here, what can Big Brain Ethos do now that they have a kind of the ideal choke to hold. And they're going to immediately drop the Baptiste ult and lose Cuban Pete, who is very close to a Transcendence. That is a rough time for the Zen to die.
Yeah, they definitely have to try to do their best to keep their shields up, especially with having double shield against these hit scans. It's going to be pretty important to do that. But this choke should be hard for them to approach, having both jump.
Yeah, here we go. Sigma ult comes out and hammers being dropped into the shield, but despite that, Big Brain Ethos, they're still finding most of the kills here. They've lost Dano, but it shouldn't matter. They are pushing pretty far forward, trying to get some staggers here.
Yeah, definitely it was nice to have those ults, but looking at what they have now to defend, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for Big Brain Ethos to take this next fight.
Yeah, they are closing in on the May Blizzard, and they do have Transcendence, so a lot of pressure on Cuban Pete here to kind of beat the grab by himself. Ooh, and Arapaima goes down for Mad Bass. This might slow down their push a little bit. They are still sitting on a lot of ults, but this is going to buy some time for Big Brain Ethos to maybe charge up the ults that were close. As you can see, a lot of high ult charge on that team now. So the defense looking good with Zappa, good immortality field. And here we go, grab comes out. Does Cuban Pete want to answer with the trans? Yes, Cuban Pete does. And now here comes a tire from up on the top. Brian looking for someone. So that tire is really taking us out. It does find Arapaima again. That's 2 fights in a row now. He will not be a part of on the Lucio. But I think this fight's maybe coming to... No, everyone's kind of getting back out of this card here. So this is still a 6v5. Now Dano down. 5v5 on the cart. As these teams are just having such a hard time turning into kills. Eggman drops the hammer, but maybe doesn't do as much as he was hoping to. But Sleepy Subcon, oh, that is a big tactical visor. And finally, Mad Bass is going to break through this defense.
Yeah, just how the press Q. I mean, we might have missed it, but Sleepy Subcon actually went on the flank and high up took Brian off of that high, which made it a lot easier for them to kind of hit W and pretty much Q on them.
Yeah, one thing fortunate, I guess, for the defense here is they still do have a big ult advantage heading into this next fight.
Just cleaning up.
Yeah,
they don't have a shield.
Super T finds sliced bread. Now this is going to be really hard for defense. That's one. Their Sigma ult not available for this. Oh, he picks out Dano as well. That's 2 ults he has picked. And now we see Zappa drop the hammer onto no one. And this is looking like a disaster for the defense here.
Yeah, they kind of staggered out rather than, well, still absolutely fine, still going.
Yeah, they're committing the Transcendence just to keep the members alive. And they've actually turned this into, I think, a 3v3 around the cart. And Big Brain Ethos, they somehow regroup and they hold.
Yeah, the Transcendence really helped out, allowed everyone to keep pushing them back. And, I mean, it's hard to hit W on the Transcendence unless you have an eggshell or a nade, whatever you want to blast them off. So, but Zappa on the high ground with Winston, he's going to be doing a lot of damage in the backline right here.
Yeah, well done out of Zappa, kind of making some disruption a little harder for Big Brain Ethos to enter here, so he's just flanking around. And here we go, Sigma ult comes out. That is a nice big Sigma ult. Dr. Eggman already down, Arapaima down as well. Looking like another one fight for the defenses. They are pushing very far forward, trying to mop us up. Brian on the high ground, Monkey in the front lines. They're going to kill nearly everybody.
Yeah, with Zappa being on the high ground, he was able to create a lot of space for his whole entire team, because then, you know, they had Brian up on the high ground, just shooting from above. You have a lot of view to see what's going on, a lot of vision. It's made everything a lot easier for them. So as long as they keep holding this high ground, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, we now are seeing some DPS swaps coming out here for Mad Bass. That we got McCree, Reaper coming through. The other 4 characters all sitting on ultimates. So keep an eye out for potentially a tank ult combo here. But Brian is really poking away. Remember, Brian up here on the high ground, he does have the tire available. He's really waiting on it. Here we go, Blizzard coming out to disrupt. Hammer being dropped. A lot of Qs being pressed. Keep an eye on this tire coming in, because this should be able to find some people. Well, it's Eggman and Mia Eve going down. That's a tank and a healer down for the offense here. But Super T does find Cerber the other direction. Is that 3 for 3 traded early here. Both the healers down for the defense. Is now the defense falling apart with no one to keep themselves alive. It's just Brian surviving up here on the high ground, and he is just getting himself staggered here. He needs to run out towards that cart. But no, he does actually find a pick on a Super T. He is really hoping to make some plays here, and he actually stays alive long enough that his team's able to rejoin the fight. That was... He created some disruption, but now grab... forcing a Transcendence here is this defense trying to get on the cart. They will be able to, as the tanks are buying good time. They pick up the offensive Ana, a big Monkey ult coming through, and an ice block on the cart. This is so much time being bought by Big Brain Ethos. Now nearly the whole team rejoining, and there is no time left on this clock. Is Mad Bass falling apart on this push? It's overtime. They have no members alive anymore. As people just trying to get back here on stall picks, but they will not be able to. And Big Brain E-Thoughts will hold the second point.
Yeah, it was actually kind of surprising with Super T with McCree actually doing the pincer attack the last fight, which allowed them to just completely win when I actually was thinking that Mad Bass was going to win that one. However, because that pincer, they were able to push, but then it wasn't. It just they got picked and it sucked.
It does suck to get picked.
Last for the gym team. Oh no, back to high school. Bad jokes aside, so we're gonna have this little switch around, this turnaround. They didn't actually cap the second point, so all they have to do is just push to that little nugget at the end. So, well, let's see what they can do. But they once again have a pretty brawly account, actually a divey. I should not even say brawly, definitely a divey type of a snare thing going on here. So,
Does Dano on the Doomfist? This is new to me. I don't know what's happened in my time away from the BOL. But this is not something I've seen before.
Well, if it looks like Mad Bass actually stays with 4 people on the low ground right here, then it's a pretty good chance that they won't be able to capitalize on not taking this first point. Because well, Narwin's on the first.
I actually really like this dive comp out of Big Brain E-Thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like the Mad Bass supports, they were dying on the earlier side of a lot of fights. Just jump in there, blow them up, and then mop up what remains. And I think it's going to catch Mad Bass really off guard here. They don't have a lot of anti-dive picks in their lineup right now. So let's see here. How does the first dive go for Big Brain E-Thoughts? As here we go. Everyone just going straight on in towards the point. Trying to disrupt. No kills just yet. As they're kind of taking the time here. Brian, the first to fall. That is the Genji, a big member of this offense down. Now Dano down as well. Without the DPS, I do not think this dive is going anywhere.
No, it's definitely it's probably going to fall apart real quick. They need to get out of there and you know, collect their health.
Yeah, this is actually a lot of ult charge being given over to the defense. Super T nearly has Bob available.
And now Zappa left there with the little baby. It's not going to be able to do a lot. It's going to take a long time just to get that mech. He's going to go back and switch, it looks like.
Yeah,
so they're letting you switch to the Ryan. Yeah, they're doing the Ryan Zarya. They're already switching.
Alright, so they are sticking with those dive DPS though. They still have Dano and Brian on Doom and Genji. Here we go, Bob coming out on the defense. Yeah, was going to do something, and that something is take a nap in the back line. But he is now waking up, and it feels like the offense had forgotten that he was going to be there. Bob, they're just letting him chuck away, and Bob is going to take Zappa out of this fight. Completely uncontested. Oh no.
But they turn around to block the Bob and just got a headshot from Super T. Just quick.
There's been a disaster on offense. We're 2 minutes in and I don't think they've done anything yet. And now they're setting up for a push finally here. So that Maywall not going to accomplish a lot. Dano did die early again. Once again, Reinhold didn't do a lot. There's a lot of purple health bars here. And that is going to be Big Brain E-Thoughts just falling apart.
It's not like the best. Like, they have Nano Blade coming up right here. They might be able to do something well with this. It really depend on the boop, as well as the launch back that what's the Super T's gonna. But who knows what's gonna happen with this? I mean,
yeah, this is a lot of pressure on Brian heading into this next fight, and I mean he is, one of the lower SR players on this team. So we're gonna see what can you do when you get this Nano Blade and run with it. And here we go, Grab coming out saying we don't want to give you a chance to set up that Nano Blade. There was no defensive ult available, but despite it, Mad Bass isn't able to secure any kills there. There is still a lot of low health bars though, and now finally the kills coming through. The Nano Blade, but his team has already lost 2, but it may not matter because Brian has found 3 himself. This Genji is popping off, and suddenly 4 kills by the offense, and now the counter hammer out of Zappa. They are mopping Mad Bass off the floor right now.
That is the Nano Blade you want to see.
Yeah, they knew they didn't have time to reset that fight despite giving up the early picks, and they were able to capitalize all the initial... Well, no, I take that back because there is still going to be a contest here. Grab comes through, only hits 1. Yeah, And this is looking good. Yeah, this is looking great for for Big Brain E-Thoughts.
For some team.
Yeah, the offense gonna mop up the defense yet again, and they have captured the point. And now they still have 3 minutes to get this to point two. They're not in a bad spot.
Yeah, it seems like they want to push up, try to get that pick in the end. I don't see it happening, but it'd be pretty bad if they get pushed too far and then they get fucking picked. But
Yeah, I like this. This gets them through the first few chokes towards that last end of Streets phase. See if they can hold this pressure here. Neither team at a dramatic ult advantage right now, as the teams are both closing in on a few ults.
The other Shatter is getting ready for Zappa. It was a clean fire strike.
Yeah, keep an eye on Zappa here. Is now Brian going forward, kind of disrupting. Here we go. Another nice shatter out of Zappa, but they had a hard time following up on it. They don't quite find any kills, but this Blizzard out of Dano putting down a ton of pressure, and everyone frozen solid and being broken apart. 5 fast kills here as they're trying to make that 6. That is a team kill onto Super T, and that might be the game. This card is now just inches away from a win here. Big Brain E-Thoughts seeing if they can push forward. Don't let anyone get onto this cart. I don't know if these tanks on a Mad Bass are going to be able to get through in time. The tanks do get through, though, and a grab does come out of Benny, trying to find something, but it is just Big Brain E-Thoughts securing the kills. And here we go, Blade coming through yet again. Maybe not as big as the last one, but this is actually a defensive Blizzard here, and this could be huge. The defense finally finding a few kills, making a few more kills. The defense regroups on this cart with just inches to play, and they get a hold.
Yeah, they pressed a lot of Qs. But right now, what they have going into this next fight, they have a Shadow, they have a Nano. But looking into Big Brain E-Thoughts, I mean, they got Grav coming up and they got Shatter coming up. It's definitely pretty interesting to see where this is going to take. If they go for the slope and go for damage, they can probably pull this off right here, right now in this fight.
Yeah, this is a very high pressure fights on these few walls that are going to come through as we see
nailing the high ground.
Yeah, they're taking kind of the back way here. As I'm keeping an eye on Brian up here on the high ground. He's, well, don't have time for that. His hammer's being dropped into not a lot right now, but Grab coming through. That Maywall finally falling apart. Brian the first to fall, but Zappa and Cerberd finding kills in the other direction. The offense up 1 right now. Make that up a lot more as the offense is mopping up here, and it's looking like their few Qs were all it took. Mad Bass ends up falling apart on the defense, and Big Brain E-Thoughts is going to take our first map.
That fucking wall. I don't know if that was on purpose or just for funs and shits and giggles, but that wall rising the Ryan up so he shattered into an ice. Fuck! That was beautiful.
Yeah, play of the game. Got to continue our trend of losing teams getting play of the game. Super T here on the McCree. Just some good old-fashioned headshots.
Here's the pincer. Click, back, beep, bong, 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 bing.
Yeah, you take those if you're McCree.
Yeah, that was a pretty good pincer. It was definitely a play of the game in my book. I agree with that 100%. By the way, does anyone still use the words pincer? Because I mean, I still do.
When you pincer somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great name for it. But then I think of like pincer from like Pokemon, and it's like pincer, and you're like, fuck off, fucking bugs.
Same.
So, going into map 2, how are you feeling? Who do you think is going to slide into this little win rate?
I still think this is anyone's match. That was a very close first map. We saw both teams kind of trading some blows, and Blizzard World can be so momentum heavy that I wouldn't be surprised by just about any result on this map, as that is where we're heading next.
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like in some parts of this map it's very tank heavy where you have to be strong, and some parts of this map it's very DPS heavy where you've got to be strong. So it's really going to be interesting to like see where we go and who's going to like probably have more use on the high ground, who's going to be able to kind of take more space. It's going to be very interesting to watch this happen. So I'm excited for this match. Let's do the Blizzard.
Yeah, so we're just double checking that these teams are set up right and that we're ready to go.
We can do a switch. We can do our little sub thing. All
right, looks like we got one roll swap coming through here.
Oh, Super for Tetris. Those are people I don't know.
So Mad Bass, after dropping that game, they're going to drop one player. So Sleepy Subcon out, Andrew Tetris in.
Who was banned again for this? It's Orisa.
We got Orisa, Echo, Tracer, and Moira.
Moira, that's right. Yeah, so it's definitely like those brawly comps are really good for a Moira. So, I mean, who knows if we're just going to keep seeing that? I feel like maybe Big Brain on attack will probably do dive for the first point or two.
Yeah, so we're gonna we got to swap Tetris and Eggman, and then we'll be good to go. So Andrew Tetris coming in playing tank, Dr. Eggman off the tank onto the DPS, and that is gonna have Mad Bass lined up for map 2 here, I believe.
Yeah, with both Super T and Dr. Eggman on fucking DPS, that's going to be a hit scan, that's going to be a Doom, and that's going to be a lot of foreheads on the big.
They do tell me a lot about this man's fist.
He does like a good fisting. I read that in a book. I don't know why he's on a book, but he is.
All right, so here we go. Map 2, Big Brainy Thoughts versus Mad Bass heading onto Blizzard World.
Yeah, I'm curious if Super T is going to go for the Ash or the Hanzo. I feel like he'll probably do an Ash, but it definitely seemed like if it is like an Ash and a Doomfist, would be kind of interesting to see on how they kind of take this and what they do with this. But we do have both teams. Not picking heroes make me upset, or do you only see it once it's after like assemble?
Yeah, this is the load-in, so no one's able to pick until that 30 seconds passes. And now here we go.
Called it. Oh, and I like to see Brian with the Torb. That's what I like. I like the Torb.
Yeah, so we got Shield Comp, May, Torbjorn coming through here for Big Brainy Thoughts on the defense. Meanwhile, on the offense, we see exactly what we were just predicting. Super T on that Ash and Dr. Eggman on the Doomfist.
Hey, real question. Who the fuck is this statue anyway? Like the main statue in the first.
That would be one of the humans from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, does he have a name like Jericho or?
I don't know who it is.
Buttress. Jericho Buttress of Slagathor. Let's do it.
WoW lore is no longer relevant to the game pretty much whatsoever, so
True.
I am not the expert I once was. But here we go. Map 2. Mad Bass coming straight in here and taking a lot of damage on the entry. A lot of damage on the entry is they're going to slow down for a second to top some people off. Benny does get the first kill onto a Torbjorn turret, though. As it looks like Andrew Tetris no longer wants to wait around. He was pressing W pretty aggressively, and now we see Big Brainy Thoughts kind of popping around. They catch him. He's gotten a little too deep there. There's a big first pick here. So now Big Brainy Thoughts kind of pushing forward, seeing if they can find anybody else here. Get some staggers. They're having a hard time doing so, though, and I don't think they will. Oh, they are pushed all the way up here, though, but it does not look like they're quite able to find any more kills.
Yeah, you never want to see your shield being at 0 when no one else is there. It's pretty unfortunate, but we'll see what happens next.
While they were pressing up there, it gets a little too deep, and he's the first to fall again. Now, once again, 5v6 in favor of the defense. Brian finding that kill on Andrew Tetris again. This is once again looking good for Big Brain Ethos here. As Zappa gets knocked up and then slams down, and this should be close to a team kill here. There's a lot of kills going over to Big Brain Ethos.
Yeah, that shot definitely sealed the deal. I don't know if it was exactly necessary, but you know what?
But only one ult required to mop that fight up. I think that was all right because his team is going to have 5 ults heading into this next fight.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the offense, Super T did swap off the Ash. He's now on the Hanzo. They're only going to be sitting on maybe 3 ults. If they play this slow, Benny's kind of closing down the grab. Currently at 70 on that Graviton.
Yeah, I really hope they talk about which ults they're going to use rather than just throwing all of them in there. So we'll definitely see if it's used appropriately. But with that Torb turret always being down, I might want to put it in a safer spot. But here you go, targeting all the way around. And as we start up...
Transcendence coming through, and this is once again looking good for the defenses. They have pressed Q. Just about everyone on this map has pressed Q in the last few seconds here. As this is looking good for the defense. Dr. Edman was in kind of deep there. The tanks are very, very deep here for the offense. You don't normally see the fight stay back behind the point like this, but after everyone but the offensive tanks presses Q. No, I'm sorry, Brian still has Molten Core available. A lot of people press Q. Defense still holds, and now there's only 70 seconds to play here.
Yeah, this is gonna be really hard to go in with Molten Core coming up. Oh man, it's not, if he uses it correct, I don't see them taking this next fight, and it's gonna be very close. But then again, they do have Grav.
Yeah, Brian tries to set up a very aggressive turret there. Doesn't do a whole lot. Nice wall out of Dano, though, to really slow this push in its tracks. And here we go. The maybe definitive fight from Mad Bass here as they're pushing in. They have tank ults available. They're looking for a grab, and they're looking for a Hanzo arrow. Molten Core, though, comes out, and Brian has already found 3. There will be no grab Hanzo combo there because Super T... Oh! Baddy and Super T did pop their ults, too! This is a disaster for Mad Bass.
That is not great. Wow.
Not great indeed, as now there are 25 seconds to play. There is a massive ult advantage for the defense here. And Mad Bass is going to just be trying their hardest to rush on into this point. And they're taking a lot of damage on this entry. And Andrew Tetris yet again goes down before the fight starts. That will be no hammer available. And they're going to have to push into a Transcendence. They're going to have to push into a Blizzard. And here we go. Zappa is so deep right now. He has given up his team, and he has found Super T in the process. Dano and Cuban Pete defending the point with the May and the Zenyatta ults. And this is looking like it is going to be a clean, full hold here out of the defense. They pop what Qs they had. Andrew Tetris going to try to touch this point. Will not even make it back. And that is a full hold for Big Brain E-Thoughts.
Yeah, who expected that? Raise your hand. I don't have it raised. But nonetheless, I mean, it was a really strong defense. They played it pretty well. A lot better than other things I've seen. So fuck yeah, good job, guys. I clap.
Yeah, it looked like Mad Bass, they could just not get really anything coordinated on the offense there.
Yeah,
honestly, it's felt like this tank line has they've really struggled with this swap. To kind of, it feels like their team play has fallen apart with Dr. Eggman over on the DPS.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like going back to Big Brain E-Thoughts on their defense, like they had a May, a Tor. They have a lot of a little bit of poke from far. They have a lot of clutch, like close range damage. It's just to approach those corners on those sides and just approach the point out of those two sections. Like it's not easy, and I think the best way is maybe trying to flank with 2 different sides, but doing it appropriately. Like I don't know, man. It was pretty tough.
And I like this pick again, Brian, going back to the Genji, so they'll have the Nanoblade composition available here. They're not playing the full dive, though, but just enough that Brian can disrupt when maybe the cohesion starts falling apart for Mad Bass, like we've seen a lot so far on this map. Genji really going to excel at just getting in there and picking off the stragglers. So we'll keep an eye on that once we start heading towards ults.
They're also going for really ult-winning fights, because all they have to do is just take a little bit of this point. They just got to win a little bit of this.
Yeah, one tick. All that they're going to need for Big Brain E-Thoughts to take the 2-0 map win. As they are rushing straight onto this point.
God.
Andrew Tetris goes down early in this fight, and this is looking bad for Mad Bass as they are losing a lot of health right now. As there we go. Mimi goes down, Benny goes down, and now it's looking like this is going to be game over as the members that are alive are backing off at this point. They know that they have to hold this to a tick, right? As they rush back on the point, they get Cerbird, but it does not matter. Zappa completely pops off. And Big Brain E-Thoughts destroys Blizzard World.
Yeah, I mean, once that wall went up, I mean, you saw Andrew having some trouble against the slow as well as the swing of Ryan's hand. And then the what's it called? The lamp went out, and it was a little bit too late because he already died. It's just like fuck, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, play of the game going to be this huge Molten Core we'd gotten excited about before it came through, and he is going to take care of just everyone on this defense.
Tactical crouching, that's what's important. Got to make sure you don't get hit by that Widow.
So that is going to secure a match win for Big Brain E-Thoughts, but as we say every week, they're still playing for the 3-0 here as you play for map record, not match record in the BOL, which means every win counts, and as Big Brain E-Thoughts tries to get a high seed here, they want to win by as big a margins as possible. Mad Bass, they still have all the reason in the world to keep trying to claw back and win this last map as we head over to Ilios.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what they're going to play here. I feel like it might be a better idea if they put Dr. Eggman back on tank. They need that type of stability. It's really hard because it seems like they're kind of going everywhere. It seems like they're loose and they're not like they don't have a direction, as you said before. So like we'll see what happens here, but
Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to make the player swap back to what they were running before. And it looks like, yes, Mad Bass is going to swap. So we're just going to take a second to get that all sorted out.
so I definitely, like I said, I feel like Dr. Eggman's going to go back on the tank. I feel like that's going to be pretty important because I know, Big Brain Ethos. I know their tanks are they can be pretty solid. I mean, we've seen Zappa. He's very calm, collective. He makes the appropriate and right decisions when he needs to. And that's kind of what makes them kind of do pretty well. I mean, not, you know, it's a team. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. Very, very interested to see what swaps.
All right, so we got Andrew Tetris coming back in. Wait, Andrew Tetris coming back out. Sleepy Subcon coming back in. So obviously these are 7-man rosters. If you're swapping players, that's the only swap you can make. And then yes, they're swapping those positions back to what they played in game 1. So Eggman back to the tank. Sleepy Subcon coming back in on the DPS. So we'll see if Mad Bass can look more like the team that was very competitive on Hollywood than the team that got completely run over on Blizzard World.
Yeah, I do feel like Bass can still take this. So they keep their comms up, keep on conversing what's going on. Like I'm going in now, I'm doing this, and I'm here. Let's do it. Let's win. Let's shoot him in the head, or teabag him appropriately. Then they can probably get it right. But it's gonna be very interesting to watch because this map, especially on fuck well, man. I just don't. I have nightmares about this. There's too many holes.
Well, don't worry. Well has a long BOL tradition of producing a lot of players' worst moments. So we're going to all cross our fingers and hope for some more of them. Because if we're lucky, sometimes you see Winston's jump straight into the hole. Sometimes you see Tracers jump in just to jump out, just to jump back in. Anything can happen on the well. And I'm sure no league MVP would ever be a part of those moments, fortunately. And so if you want to prove that you're one of the great players in this match, you need to show us that you can stay out of the hole.
It's I feel like it's appropriate to actually kind of go in there and then go back out. You can do the hokey pokey and you can turn yourself around,
That's what the well's all about. Alright, so here we go. Some pretty drastically different picks coming out here than what we've seen so far tonight. Roadhog, no surprise on well out of both teams. And some new picks on the DPS. So let's see, what do these teams have in store for us? Is that Wrecking Ball or Dr. Eggman scouting out very far forward right now? But Mad Bass, they have off-flanked it onto the side. So here we go, Wrecking Ball going to be kind of just poking around the back line. We got the Butthole Tickler in position. He's tickling, but that's about it right now.
Yeah, as long as he keeps, as long as Bald's, like, it's a huge distraction. It doesn't stop them from, like, really pressing forward. I mean, it's going to be pretty important. Whoa!
Yeah, here we go. First pick, though. Sleepy Subcon does pick out, but in the other direction. Super T and Mia Eve both going down. Zapping out on 4v4 around this point. This is a very split-out fight, but Dr. Eggman going in for the slam, trying to get some damage on a big grenade on Eggman, but they're not able to take out that Wrecking Ball. But this is still looking very good for Big Brain E-Thoughts here, as they have more or less point control here, but a nice hook out of Benny, going to take Slice Bread out. Does die in the process, though. No, Slice Bread, he's trying his hardest to get out, but can he do it? He's swinging.
No,
I don't know. Oh, yes!
Holy shit!
Benny died for that, and his team lost the fight for that. Unlucky, as they say in the TFT universe. As we're already set up for this next fight here. Zappa's now down, so this is an advantage for Mad Bass as they're trying to re-engage this fight here. As now nanos are coming out.
Half time is coming in.
And now there's 2 members of the defenders that have gone down here. Make that 3, make that 4. And now we see Bob being popped by Dano well after that fight was lost. I'm not sure what he was going for there. They do need to kill Bob, and Benny gonna yoink. Bob will not have a grappling hook to make it out of this pole. And Mad Bass, they should be able to flip this, but no, the tanks actually make it back. They look like they want to stall this out as long as possible. It's actually Oh no, the Wrecking Ball went off the point though, and that is finally going to flip the point over to Mad Bass.
Yeah, it was a nice little stagger, but
they might have been able to get like a full fight there if Wrecking Ball had stayed on the point.
You're going to be okay.
But now it's just being some staggers for free here is Big Brain Ethos. They need to back up probably a little more aggressively here. As there is a Wrecking Ball behind them as Eggman looking to disrupt things again. It's actually a Slice Bread kind of, well, maybe he's fine, but Brian does get picked off. Nice out of Sleepy Subcon. It's Mad Bass just buying a lot of time here as they're laying down this, I mean, Eggman's playing the 1v everyone game over here to the side. He's kind of winning.
I don't know if people all saw this, but that is twice Super T almost got into the well, then rolled on the opposite side to avoid.
All right, here we go. A nano onto Slice Bread coming out here is Mad Bass getting picked apart here. That's 3 kills over to Big Brain Ethos. Make that 4, and that is going to flip the point back to Big Brain Ethos.
Dando, that is clutch, sir.
Just with the duck.
Little boop the ball into the well as he was also nanoed and he was about to power drive on.
Yeah, now this next fight, this could be a big one. With timing, this could end up being the last fight, at least the last coordinated fight of the round. And there's going to be a lot of ults available in both directions. So a lot of pressure to nail these Q presses as now Wrecking Ball's studying the disruption game. Sliced Bread. Alright, the Molten Core coming out of Brian, though. Not quite finding anyone early, but Super T, the first of all, that's no McCree ult this fight. As Sleepy Subcon accomplishes absolutely nothing with a Tactical Visor, and Big Brain Ethos picking apart Mad Bass here. And the Wrecking Ball not done.
If they play it really quickly and they get ready for this, they can go to another fight.
Yeah,
Right,
Devo though, nice out of his Zappa, chucks that in the back line, gets Sleepy Subcon before he can sprint up. And now this is a big man advantage for Big Brain Ethos on the point, as they've got a lot of purple health bars on the side of Mad Bass. Mad Bass just trying to find anyone. They do pick out Dano. They're doing a decent job of buying time on these tanks here, and actually they pick up Surbird as well. They may have a chance at something here, as this Wrecking Ball and Dr. Eggman is buying a lot of time, but they have lost Benny.
Yeah, he's doing his very important job, and he's actually doing it pretty well with like delaying that long enough and allowing for his team to kill the rest of everyone else. And they're going to take this point. I definitely see
this is a really tight fight here. Now Sleepy Subcon finally goes down for Mad Bass. Is we have a fairly even fight in terms of numbers here. Is now the dead members of Big Brain Ethos are kind of making it back to point, but Eggman gets a nice minefield down. He's going to pick out Dano as he's taking a nap in this back. Sliced Bread makes it back to point. As this fight once again fairly split. People are kind of inching towards ults again. We could see a lot of ults going off here still. I don't know what the plan is here for either team, but now finally Server going to pop a nano in there. That was a big grenade here, but not a lot of damage that's sticking. Eggman, unfortunately, I think went into the hole there.
He walked in.
And Devo going a little too high, doesn't hit anything there. And this is a really hard fight to read, but Dano's made it back. He's tossed in Bob. As this is looking like advantage, finally flipping towards Mad Bass. They're getting spawn advantage. Yeah, Sleepy Subcon, he's not taking any chances here. He pops Tactical Visor to finish off whatever remains, and Mad Bass finally yanked the point back.
That was a very long fight just to turn around. Wowsies.
Yeah, now taking a peek at ults here. This is going to be ult advantage in a moment for Big Brain Ethos. Quite a big ult advantage.
They're going to have Bomb here, which is really pretty important because there are no...
yeah, and they've got Cumshot and Lucio coming as well. So we're going to see what they can do. 3 ults to nothing.
The main issue with the Bomb, though, is that there's a lot of cover on this map. There is a ridiculous amount of cover. I don't know how much use he's going to get out of it.
Yeah, and ooh, they get a DMAC on a Benny and a kill on a Sleepy Subcon before the ults even came out. Now, Benny dead as well, and that Zap ult going up high, doesn't find anyone, but maybe creates a little bit of time. Molten Load being popped by Brian here, forcing everyone out of this safety of the lighthouse, and I think that is going to do it. Big Brain Ethos, they grab the control back with their ult control. They pop a very early sound barrier that I don't think is going to cost them anything here, because I don't think there's a real contest coming through for Mad Bass, but this Diva is buying some time. Benny gets DMAC'd on the points. Has bought some time for a few teammates to join. Brian does die here. Super T on that dupe is not going to make any miracle. But actually, he kills both healers. If time gets stalled here, that could be big. Oh no! The boom causes Dr. Eggman to slam straight into the hole, and that was the stall pick they needed going straight to his death, and that means Big Brain Ethos finally is going to win this well.
Score.
Yeah, that was quite the long match. It was definitely entertaining to watch. A lot of staggering, not even really staggering, just the delaying. Yes, that's all I'll say. But going into this next match, it looks like we're going to have both Winston Hogg versus Ball Winston. Never mind. Just keep swapping.
Yeah, a lot of time to swap here. 10 seconds as these teams figure out what their compositions are going to be. But Dano going to be the Widowmaker here. No Widowmaker on the side of Mad Bass.
Yeah, looking into this, reversing a Doomfist, like they're gonna they have McCree. Never mind. I was gonna say they might have some issue, but that should be terrible.
Yeah, there will be a lot of potential dive up on a Dano's Widow here, so we'll keep an eye on seeing if he's able to be very effective or not.
Even then, yeah, I mean we'll have to see because the tanks go and dive him, and they're not going to take care of the rest of their team. So.
Oh, and Cuban Pete, he gets flushed out by the dive tanks. Now Brian down as well. This is a good first fight for Mad Bass here. They're up 6v4, and they're pushing very forward right now. Dr. Eggman tearing apart some healers. Slice Bread Dano both down, and that is going to be first point going over to Mad Bass.
Yeah, so this type of turnaround, I mean, let's see what goes on here. But with Zappa playing Sig, I mean, that's going to be very dangerous versus what they're dealing with. Yeah, already, the Winston just taking giving a lot of damage, getting a lot of that ult charge, and there it is, already ulting.
A healer trade coming through here is actually both healers are now down for Mad Bass, and that could be a chance for Big Brain Ethos to push up here if they desire, and it looks like they do. As they are... Oh, no, don't lock onto that guy. Pushing their way onto the point very slowly, very methodical. So these healers will maybe make it back here as they are coming with the Lucio speed boost, so this should turn into a 6v6 very quickly. The signal coming through, Immortality Field down on the point. Not a lot being accomplished by any of these Bucking Pressers so far. As finally we have a trade here. Cuban Pete for Sleepy Subcon, but that's once again, both healers are down, but this time for Big Brain Ethos. That is not good as they're trying to retake this point. They really took their sweet time getting to this point just to, it looks like, lose this fight as Mad Bass was able to get their healers back with enough time to fight that they held onto this one with 2 members.
Yeah, Mad Bass played it very smart by getting very far back, give them the point a little bit, they can get some little bit of time on there, it's okay, and then they came back with a fighting force and just fucking go boom!
Yeah, that was so much time taken off the clock here. This is now 1-fight territory for Big Brain Ethos, and they're not quite at the ults they would like to have available. They might want a slow entry here just to get some ults available, especially that sound barrier, but there is a Dr. Eggman with a minefield in this back line, and he has just completely split this team apart. Big Brain Ethos, how do you recover from this? They do manage to pick up Sleepy Subcon, though, before the fight breaks up, but Cuban Pete dies before he gets the chance to sound barrier. Now Dano is down as well. Eggman in the other direction, Benny in the other direction. There are no tanks available for Mad Bass here. There's still Cerberus solo healing on the side of Big Brain Ethos, and that looks like it might be the deciding factor is no one else has died as this fight split up, and Big Brain Ethos do manage to grab the point.
Yeah, no, hopefully right here, hopefully Mad Bass, like, they kind of don't hit Q and just kind of get their ults up, get a bunch of, potential winning fights, and then just, fucking unleash the hell of all the Qs they can. But, I mean, we'll see what happens here for this, but hopefully they can get that all charge and just win.
They hook Sleepy Subcon, and they do manage to get that pick on Sleepy Subcon. That means there will be no tactical visor used. And Super T, he's popped the Doomfist ult, but this fight is already over. Is Cuban Pete the only member of Big Brain Ethos that's been taken out so far?
Yeah, and like I said, CP didn't hit Q, which is great. If you want to just save up, get their ults, I mean, we'll see what happens here. That's probably my only fucking quote I ever say.
Yeah, Super T, he has swapped off the Doomfist. Actually, we got a few swaps coming out. Eggman onto Roadhog. Super T is onto Symmetra. So we've got 2-way Symmetra right now. As Eve Mimi gets picked out from long range, though, that's going to be main healer unavailable. And it looks like Big Brain Ethos, they want to capitalize. The Zappa chucks in the bomb. It splits the team. It doesn't find any kills. And then he goes down, and this has just been Stagger City for Mad Bass. They need to get a full regroup here.
Yeah, now they only have 1 fight left. I don't see them having 2 fights for this.
Yeah, they definitely only going to have 1 fight left, and now they will have a few ults available, but they are also pushing into a lot of ults. Dano is going to have the Molten Core, and we've seen a lot of big Molten Cores tonight. Can Dano add one to the list? Here we go. Slice Bread goes down to Dr. Eggman before he had a chance to pop his whole hog. Now Cuban Pete is popping the sound barrier. Does not want any teammates to go down. Is the Molten Core coming out? Sleepy Subcount and Dano being traded. That's a DPS trade. Mia Eve, Mimi down as well. So it's a 4v4 on the point, but server down. No healers available here for the defenders. This is a very, very tight fight here. But there's a big health monkey that no one's able to quite pick apart. Zappa just trying to buy as much time as he can on the point. Now Slice Bread's made it back to point. He's got a whole hog available as he's trying to knock everyone off. That's a great Symmetra ult on a Super T though. That's really disrupting the solo hero Roadhog as the point looks back to Mad Fast, but there may still be a few members of Big Brain Ethlots making it back to point as Cuban Pete is stalling around this point very well. Now he finally goes down and Dano went down on the entry as well. And that is the disaster that they did not need. And we've got a 1-1 as Ilios heads on to round 3.
Oh, let's break it.
Score.
Yeah, so
Much
there's
tighter
a lot
than
of
the first rounds.
there's just a lot of things happening and a lot of very weird comms going in and just a lot of people changing and doing different things and I don't know what's going on anymore.
We see a lot of players are they're making like the one pick swap that is necessary just back and forth, and it ends up with these really disjointed team comps that made a really exciting game.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. It's definitely really awesome to watch. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? I'm just like, is this happening? Wait, is this happening?
So finally, a new round means a full reset. These teams will see what they do, and both of these teams sticking with Symmetra, so thinking that is a core part of the plan going forward. So Symmetra, Lucio, Ryan, Zarya on both teams right now, as everyone just rams down out of this point.
Like, it's just, there's so much, like, weird, awkward brawl, like, no one's ever poking from a distance.
Yeah, everyone just in each other's faces here, trying to hug this one out, but finally, Mad Bass are going to find the majority of the kills here. And Mad Bass with the first point tank of the Lighthouse.
That was just like weird because like everyone was just like right next to each other, like almost touching hands, and everyone was just like poking like shields up and just like do we get W? Do I touch him? Do I hold him? Do I hug him? And it's like,
yeah. Now the only character different between these two teams, I missed the Baptiste before because I'm an incompetent. So we just have one DPS is all that separates these two compositions right now. And that's Soldier versus May. As here we go, heading into the next fight here. Hammer being dropped.
and
Ryan's being traded.
it's gonna be very difficult for E-Bomb or shit. Big Brain, any thoughts? I guess they want to continue that with knowing that they have this giant fucking wall, even though they're main tank down.
Yeah, they get the cues they need there, which was apparently tanks and Symmetra, as they hold on to the support ults. Mad Bash, they held on to that point without really using any of their ults, though, so they could have a really big fight here coming for a retake. A lot of pressure on Cuban Pete to get a big sound barrier this fight.
The big question is, does he want to use sound barrier for the grab, or does he want to wait for May's ult? So we're definitely going to see what choices we make. It's going to be very important what he decides.
And here we go, grab comes through, and Zappa with the double on the fire strike. That is a disaster. As Mad Bass wanted a big entry. Oh, Baddy though with the double on the fire strike the other way, and this is what a clowny fight, but it looks like Big Brain Thoughts is going to hold this one regardless.
Yeah, with Bunny, I said Bunny. If Benny, charging both Zappa and Cerbert off the map, I mean, that's just, that's a bit of a fly. Look how far that is.
Yeah, they are going to rush right back in before the defense can fully step back up, as here we go. Running in, Dano tossed a Blizzard out, but it didn't do anything, as now members being traded both ways, but Big Brain Thoughts, they are kind of holding this one yet again.
Yeah, definitely going back and forth, but,
Slice Bread, though, has got to be careful here. He's getting chucked out, and he just does not want to acknowledge those Symmetra turrets. It cost him his life, and now Mad Bass, they've gotten 3 members on this point. There will be no contest, and after looking like they had lost the fight, Symmetra the hero comes through. Mad Bass takes it back.
yeah, Zarya got a lot of charge off that, just a hell of a amount of damage. With already the ball coming up.
Yeah, this is going to be a really big fight, and Mia Eve Mimi gets picked out early. That's a lot of heal pressure unavailable for the defenders. Brian does get picked on Sentry, though, as well, so it's a 5v5. So let's see what happens here. Sound Barrier dropped early by Arapaima, does not want the defense to fall apart. And now Sleepy Subcon looking for a big tactical visor as everyone in each other's faces. Dano going down early, Cerberus down as well. This is looking good for Mad Bass. Slice Bread down as well. This is a lost fight. The members that are alive need to reset this ASAP.
My God, this is close. They got one fight, maybe. Probably, as long as they fucking go there quick to get the
Yeah,
lead.
but Cuban Pete, he was dead right now. He's the last one to spawn, so he's going to be the one his team needs to get onto this point. And he will not be there until the very end. One of these tanks going to have to charge. They're maybe playing this middle. Here we go. The tanks do manage to get around on the point. Slice by the first one out of the point, but a nice grab coming out of Dr. Eggman, trying to keep people off of this point, but no one dead just yet. And actually a lot of low health bars on the side of the defenders as we get a DPS trade, but no. As I say, that big rainy thought, they're now starting to fall apart completely. And Mad Bass, after losing the first two maps, are going to run this one back to take Ilios.
Holy shit, that was epic.
Those fights were just such a clusterfuck. And maybe to give us a little bit of an insight into how the hell that happened, Super T with the play of the game on Symmetra. Gonna show us one of these. I think this is actually maybe the fight that, yeah, they mopped up with the turrets after.
I mean, it's just once you have that fucking super beam power of superness, it's just fucking hitting left click and aiming at people, and that's all you gotta do.
It. Well done from Super T and friends to keep the points close here. That's going to do it for match 2, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll be back in just a few minutes here with No Talk Wiengi versus Give Ryan Wall Climb to close out the night. So stay tuned.
Thank you, everybody.